All right, shalom everyone. It's brother Doug again with my sisters Marissa and Sadie, and so we're the Wakened by Yahuwah Fellowship Group in Yahuwah Almighty and Yahushua Messiah. Today we are going to be doing our weekly Torah studies. So instead of an actual portion, we're just going to see how far as we can get, with these readings each day. So now we're going to be I'll be using the Word software. I really recommend this if anyone wants to add this to their scriptural repertoire, you could say, because this has certain versions that you can't get on the eSword, like the Targum of Onkelos in English. So I'll be using that as my default for Genesis 39. I'll be using the Targum of Onkelos here. Let's see here, where I got it. I think it's abbreviated as Onk. Yeah, there we go. All right, so here we go. All right, so Genesis. Yeah, I know. No. All right, so let's go to Genesis 39. I really like the setup, how easy it is to click on the chapters too. All right. But Yosef was brought down into Mitzrayim, and Potiphar, and a chief of Pharaoh, a chief of the killers. Isn't that interesting? Chief of the killers, a Mitzrayim man, bought him from the land of Arabia. Oh, come on, guys. Really? You gotta be texting me, really? All right, sorry about that, guys. I'm putting my phone on complete silent mode. That is really annoying. Stupid. All right, here we go.
Should we start over on the recording?
It's okay. It's all right. It's not going to happen again. Let's see. Bought him from the hands of the Arabians, or from Arab, who had brought him down there. And the word of Yahuwah was the helper of Joseph. Wow, that's something you don't have in the Masoretes. Of course, yeah, just take out Yahusha. Just take him out. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I don't think the word of Yahuwah is even mentioned in the Masoretic text version of verse 2 there. And he became a prosperous man and was in the house of his Mitzrayim master. And his master saw that the word of Yahuwah was his helper, and that all he did, Yahuwah prospered in his hand. And Yosef found favor in his eyes and served him. And he appointed him over his house and all that he delivered into his hands. And it was from the time that he appointed him over his house and over all that he had, that Yahuwah Baruch the house of the Mitzrayim for Yosef's sake. And the barak of Yahuwah was upon all he had in the house and in the field, and he left all that belonged to him in the hand of Yosef. And he knew of nothing that was with him, except the bread which he ate. Now Yosef was of dubly appearance, beautiful in aspect, and it was after these things that the wife of his master lifted up her eyes to Yosef and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, my master knows not what is with me in the house, and all that he has delivered unto my hand. There is no one in this house greater than I, and he has not prohibited anything from me but yourself, because you are his wife. How can I do this great wickedness and become guilty before Yahuwah?" And it was when she spake with Yosef daily that he would not hearken to her to lie with her or be with her. And it was about this day that he came into the house to examine the writings of his affairs, and no man of the men of the house was there in the house. See, this is always bad, guys. Don't be alone with someone else's wife. Sorry, this is why King Solomon talks about this. I think he talks about it in the book of Ecclesiasticus, if I'm not mistaken. It's a bad thing to be alone with someone else's wife. And she laid hold of his garments, saying, lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand. Yep, flee from sexual immorality. See, this is where Yahusha gets it from. And fled and went forth into the street. And she called to the men of her house and spake to them, saying, see, he brought us a Hebrew man to mock at us. He came into me to lie with me, and I cried with a high voice. And it was when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his robe with me and fled and went forth into the street. And she let his robe remain with her until his master came into his house. And she spake with him these words, saying, the Hebrew servant whom you brought us came into me to mock me. And it was when I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his robe and with me and fled into the street. And when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake with him, saying, according to these things has your servant done to me, his anger waxed strong, and his master took Joseph and delivered him to the house of the bond where the prisoners of the king were bound. And he was there in the house of the bond, but the word of Yahuwah was the helper of Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the eyes of the captain of the prison. And the captain of the prison gave into the hand of Joseph all the prisoners who were in the house of bond. And all that they did there was done according to his word. The captain of the prison saw no fault in his hand, because the word of Yahuwah was his helper, and that which he did, Yahuwah made to prosper. So I really don't think there's much to elaborate on this chapter. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Don't be alone with someone else's wife. Try to avoid that at all costs. And I'm talking about believers too. Don't be alone with another guy's wife. Okay? There's always going to be temptation there, so don't do it. You know, so, and, you know, I agree. My brother Darrenell and I, we've talked about this from time to time. And, you know, I believe, just like his assembly that he's a part of believes, that it is not a good idea. And so anyway, I think we're going to go on, because that's pretty much self-explanatory. The chapter was about him being brought to Egypt by the Arabians. The Arabians brought him to Potiphar. Potiphar was his master. Potiphar's wife wanted to lay with him. It's pretty much self-explanatory. And then he you know, his wife, Potiphar's wife, lied and, you know, lied about rape. So all the court systems out there, you should pay attention to this. Just because a woman says she was raped doesn't mean it's true. Just saying, there's always two sides to a story. So
right. Hey, Doug, can I interject there for a moment?
Yeah.
So I was listening on about a teaching the other night regarding this particular matter. It's one of the apocryphas, and it's called Shoshana, the book of Daniel, where there is a story regarding a woman that is married to a man, and there are two elders. I was listening on about a teaching the other night regarding this particular matter. It's one of the apocryphas, and it's called Shoshana, the book. Doug? Hello?
Sis, you there? Yeah, I
goofed. I hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
I'm sharing your study right now.
So really quickly, so this story that you're talking about, that she cried out in the Torah, this is actually the instructions that are given to women that are married if they are in a situation where they are going to be raped. Yes, granted, this woman, she did lie and say that that Joseph tried to rape her. But in the Torah, there is actually instructions that it should be followed before a woman is stoned to death for adultery. And one of those instructions in the Torah says that a woman is to cry out, but she cried out even though she lied. But the woman is supposed to cry out if she has not been raped. So when you said that, it just brought back that teaching that I heard. Actually, it was Adam Fink in a parable of the vineyard over Shabbat. And it's very interesting because it talks about this particular scenario where the woman is being raped and she cries out. And this woman cried out even though she lied. But this other woman in this story, it's called Shoshana, she cried out because she was told that either she slept with the elders and either she slept with the elders or they were going to tell the council of the Israelites that she had slept with another man, even though she never did. And in the end, it came out that, they were killed because Daniel was able to be like a judge for her, an attorney for her, and he was able to vindicate her because he was able to be like a lawyer. But this scenario about rape and her crying out just brought back that particular situation regarding what the Torah instructs for people to do. I don't know if you've ever heard about it or not.
Yeah, I read the whole book of Shoshana. It's a very interesting book. It actually, that whole story actually in context too is these men were trying to know this woman and pretty much in you could say a reverse situation, they lied about her.
Right.
And she had to defend herself and Daniel got peed off.
Yeah.
I remember reading
because they didn't follow protocol about how to go about it. You know how they tell you the woman is supposed to drink something, and if it messes up her stomach is because she lied. But they said that she was really beautiful and they just wanted to have sex with her, and they tried to bribe her, and she says, I will not do this. I would not defile myself and sleep with you. And that was a very interesting story though.
Yeah. Also, well, he was also mad too. If you read the whole story, he's also mad because they have no discernment. The judges and stuff like that were supposed to come to her aid.
Yeah, they were going to stone her, even though she was innocent. They didn't follow protocol.
Yeah, they sided with the man, and Daniel having it says having the spirit of Yahuwah in him. He says, how do you men have no discernment? How do you not realize? How do you not know concerning this matter that she is innocent? And basically, he what he did was what we all guys should do, is always pull them aside, take the two people in a party aside, pull them apart, see if their stories match, and their stories
exactly. The stories didn't match because they both said there were two different trees that they were under.
So yeah, that's something I think police do sometimes. Sometimes they actually do that in the world. There's that concept of good cop, bad cop, and all that, and sometimes they'll do that and separate the two felons. But yeah, as you can see here, that's a good point you brought up, because this Egyptian woman, pagan Egyptian woman, has a concept of Torah. Actually has a concept of the Creator's laws mind you, prior law of Moses. So this is a cultural righteous thing that all the nations know. Like I believe this goes with Paul when Paul says even the nations that don't have the Torah, referring to the law of Moses, they have a Torah to themselves, meaning they know just not to do certain things. And they know to do certain things like cry out when someone's trying to rape her. So even though she lied, she, like you said, there was that concept of Torah that she had. And so, yeah, there was definitely a law before the Torah of Moses. There's remnants. You can see remnants of Yahuwah's law before the law of Moses, where it's not as many commands, but there's certain similar commands, like crying out if someone's trying to rape you. That seems to be something that was pre-law of Moses, not just in the law of Moses. So anyway, but yeah, that's a very interesting chapter. I recommend, if you want to read, it is considered, I think, chapter 13 or 14 of the book of Daniel. It's in the Septuagint.
Say yes, it is.
It's in the Geneva 1587 canon, as far as I remember. It's in the 1611 King James canon. So it's a standard apocrypha. It's not even pseudepigrapha. It's not even in the same category as like Jubilees or Jasher. It's actually in the 15 books of the apocrypha that was later taken out in the 1700s later. So it was actually originally in the Bible. So let me see here. So now we're at Genesis 40. And let's see what we're going to see here. After these things, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh was angry with two of his chiefs, and the chief of his cupbearers and the chief of the bakers. And he gave them into word in the house of the captain of the executioners, they put here parentheses, killers, in the house of the prison, the place where Joseph was confined, and the captain of the executioners appointed Joseph with them, and he ministered to them. They were certain days inward, and they dreamed a dream of both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Mitzrayim, who were confined in the house of the bond. And Joseph came to them in the morning and saw them. Behold, they were melancholy, whatever that means. Probably they were pale or something. They were like afraid. And he asked the chiefs of Pharaoh who were with him inward and his master's house, saying, why are your faces evil today? And they said to him, we have dreamed a dream. There is no interpreter of it. And Joseph said to them, are not interpretations from before Yahuwah related now to me? And the chief of the cupbearers related his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and the vine were 3 branches, and it was, as it sprouted, it produced buds, and having flowered, ripened clusters of grapes, and the cup of Pharaoh was in my hand. And I took grapes and expressed them into Pharaoh's cup, or pressed them, to make wine, and gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, this is the interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. At the end of 3 days, Pharaoh will remember you and restore you to your service, and you will give the cup into Pharaoh's hand according to your former custom when you were cupbearer to him. But let remembrance of me be with you when it shall be with you. You could say this is conditional here. Joseph's kind of giving him a condition here with Yahuwah's interpretation. He's saying, but remember me. Let my remembrance of me be with you when it shall be well with you. And do me favor, I beseech you, and remember me before Pharaoh, and deliver me from this prison. So yeah, the negotiator, Joseph the negotiator, he's a smart man. For I was verily taken by fraud from the land of Hivrai. This is probably talking about the Hittites, because that's where he was, in the land of Canaan, or the land of the Hivites. And here have I done nothing evil that I should be imprisoned. And when the master of the bakers saw that he had interpreted pleasantly, he said to Joseph, I also in my dream, behold, 3 baskets of confectionery were upon my head. And in the upper basket were all food for Pharaoh, the work of the baker, and the birds ate from the basket that was on my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. At the end of 3 days, will the Pharaoh remove your head from off you, and will hang you upon a gibbet, and the birds will eat your flesh from off you. And it was on the 3rd day, the day of the nativity of Pharaoh. Well, I wonder what that is. Yeah, his birthday. That he made a feast for all his servants, and he took the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief of the bakers in the midst of his servants. and he restored the chief cupbearer to his office, and he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And the chief of the bakers he hanged as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Wow. And if I remember correctly, not trying to spoil it for anyone, but the next chapter will reveal that the cupbearer didn't end too well for him, not remembering Joseph. Yeah. So, and here we go. Nativities, birthdays. What do you know? A pagan celebrating a birthday. I'm so shocked. So, and notice how it says nothing about Joseph joining the guy for his birthday. So those are little clues here. What the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob think about birthdays. If he's not really allowing Joseph to really join in with the party, and he's not really. There's no hint that Yahuwah would give him the okay, really, to join in with this pagan celebration. So again, for those of our brothers and sisters out there that don't know much about birthdays, I would recommend you research them. And, just to quote from Anton LaVey, quote from his Satanic Bible, which I don't recommend you guys reading, but a quote from the Satanic Bible says, birthdays is one of the highest days for a Satanist. It's all about worship of oneself. So, again, Yahuwah says in Exodus 20, you shall have no other mighty ones before me. That includes yourself. So, and Satan's number one thing in the garden, if you go to Genesis 3, oh, you will be as gods, knowing good and evil. So Satan, his whole MO was to get Adam and Eve to worship themselves even. That was his goal. For them to set themselves up as their own gods over Yahuwah, over Yahusha. So, anyway, other than that, this is another self-explanatory chapter. I mean, you got the death of the guy that the chief baker died, because that's what was prophesied in the dream. And it seems like the cupbearer, something's not going to end well for him for not remembering Joseph. And then you got a birthday of Pharaoh where he's killing a person. So those are the three main points I wanted to bring out of this chapter. And the fact that it's kind of interesting that Joseph is almost trying to be a witness to these guys. The cupbearer and the chief baker, he says, isn't interpretations from before Yahuwah. It's kind of like he's trying to witness to them about the one true creator. It's kind of interesting. So, and other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So you have the dream, him explain to them that he did nothing wrong. He basically wants that cupbearer to remember him so he can get out of that prison, because he did nothing wrong to get in there. As we read in the prior chapter, he got falsely accused of trying to sleep with someone's wife when he never did. So, and if you want to be technically honest, the woman accused him of raping her, not just, adultery. So, let me see here. So I think, let's see, we might have time for one more chapter. Let's see here. How long is chapter 41 here? All right, you know what? We'll wait until the next. We'll wait until tomorrow to do chapter 41. It's a pretty long one, and I know our brothers and sisters got stuff to do, got jobs and stuff like that, so I don't want to hold them too long for today. But thank you for joining us for a little Torah study today. Any questions, comments? Feel free. Anyone has any questions right now before we end? Anyone I know we've been on Facebook Live for a while, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be questions and comments when I check the live feed. So, but that's pretty much it. That's as much as you can expound upon those two chapters. They're pretty much self-explanatory. So please stay tuned. We'll be starting chapter 41 tomorrow. So I,
Hey, Doug.
yep, go ahead.
Now remember that the father is the one that allowed for Joseph to be in the position that he's in. But secondly, I didn't know anything about the cupbearer. I didn't read any part of the scripture that said that he was, because he forgot Joseph, that there was judgment that came upon him. I know you said that
Yeah,
something
because
happened to
the
him.
next chapter something happens to him. It's not in that chapter, but I remember reading in
Oh,
the next chapter he it
oh,
doesn't
okay.
it doesn't end well for him, let's just say. So
Oh, okay.
that's why I was kind of joking around because Yosef was like, "Please remember me," when he's kind of like trying to make a deal with the guy. He's like, "Please remember me," and when it does go well, if you remember me, and you see by the end of this chapter he them. It kind of is a parallel to Nebuchadnezzar in a way. I kind of see a parallel between the book of Daniel and Genesis here, where where Daniel warns Nebuchadnezzar to humble himself and realize Yahuwah is the one that put him in the kingdom he has. And then Nebuchadnezzar forgets about Daniel telling him that. And then Yahuwah, takes his kingdom away from him. Because you have not humbled yourself to exalt the Elohim of heaven. So I mean, there's like parallels I see even between Genesis and Daniel, where sometimes people forget about certain things, and sometimes if you forget about a certain thing, you make a promise to someone. There is a concept in the Torah that's known as you keep your oaths. You promise, you keep your promises. So, and Yahuwah is going to hold even a pagan to that. Pagan, promises Yahuwah judges all flesh. So it seems like that seems like it's more of interjecture to me, because as soon as he forgets Yosef, we're going to see tomorrow in the next chapter where he just it doesn't end well for him. So I'm just kind of putting two and two together. It doesn't literally say that, but you can kind of figure it out by the last verse of this chapter we just read and what happens in the next chapter. But yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, there's certain things in these chapters that you will not find in the Masoretic, like the word of Yahuwah was his helper multiple times being iterated in chapter 39. You will not find that in the Masoretic. So, but anyway, don't want to beat a dead horse there. So that was a good question, Sister Marissa. That was a great question. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And please join us tomorrow if you like. Those that are going to see this on YouTube, if you like our studies and you like the content we put out, please like, share, and subscribe. Reach out to us if you're looking for fellowship. Any brothers and sisters out there that come across this stuff on YouTube, if you're looking for assembly to be a part of, please reach out to us. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right.